Good evening, everybody. I'm going to talk about silver. Imagine that. Listen, uh, all these, we'll say a quick word about the chats. All these chat rooms are just people pissing contests. I'll show you what I got, you show me what you got, yada, yada, yada. They don't really discuss what the fuck is really going on in silver. They'll get Joe Schmuck on their news unit and he'll play a half-hour tape that that anybody with any common sense would know is just bullshit. But yet they want to listen to it because they want to be reassured that their investment is secure. Well, the only way their investment is ever going to be secure is to get the government on our side. The problem with silver isn't the fact that there's too much of it. There isn't. It's the fact that the government allows the paper people often they'll hold naked shorts, which means they have no silver at all, or they'll allow them to have a margin of 100 to 1 for every ounce of silver they hold. They can sell 100 contracts. Now the government doesn't want the price of silver to go through the roof because it makes the dollar look weak. And even though it hurts exports to have a real strong dollar, it sure helps the government because then people come in and want to buy treasuries no matter how low they are because the dollar's so strong and their currencies depreciate in relationship to the dollar. So until we get a raise in interest rates, until we have a little a true weakness showing in the economy, and people start shying away from dollars, we're going to have cheap silver. Why? Because the government won't allow it not to be cheap silver. And they'll allow the manipulators to control it. As soon as they decide it's not in their interest, then they'll clamp down on the manipulators. But what drives the price of real silver? And that is usage. Right now it's about 60% industrial and 40% hoarders, and we're the hoarders. At the hoarders, all their 40% is considered open market. It's considered like silver above ground. It's available. Well, of course it's available, and it's available at a price. But what price? I'm not selling out cheap, and neither are a bunch of you. But we have to ask ourselves, how in the world can we ever see silver start to climb? Well, we can see it start to climb when more and more industrial use comes into play. Now everybody's talking about China, and China is entering a period of not recession, but a period of lower growth. They're talking about holding it to 7% this year. We'd be happy with 7%. We'd flip over backwards crazy for 7%. We're lucky if we'll carry 3 this year. But what we fail to keep recognizing is that the usage of silver, even in a slowdown, if it was a worldwide slowdown, would absolutely still increase. Why is that? Because we have 300 million Chinese in the next 5 years will enter the middle class. That's like adding another United States to the middle class in China. And that's tremendous consumer power. And that's where China wants to go, and that's where they're trying to go, and that's where they will go. They will become a nation of consumers. Why? Because they've taken the time to build a middle class. Now, let me read you something that's both disturbing and real. All right. Now, Niger, Mali, Chad, Burundi, Angola, Somalia, Uganda, Zambia, Congo, Cassis, Gambia, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Malawi, Tanzania, Mozambique, Senegal, Congo, Brazil, Guinea-Bissau, Cameroon, Guinea, and Eritrea, Cote d'Ivoire, Sierra Leone. All right, these are the top 22 birth nations in the world. They produce more people and they have a lower average age of citizens than any other place in the world. The top 22 of them are all in Africa. Africa has 1 billion people now. They will never, as I've said many a time, they will never be hardwired. Because why? Why, when it's so much cheaper to put up towers than it is to put up wires? And you don't have the wires falling down all the fucking time, or you don't have some Joe Schmidt tribal guy coming around and blowing up your wires or trimming your wires or whatever the hell. But this means that a continent like Africa, which has 1 billion people now, that has been estimated by the turn of the next century, they will have half of all the people in the world. Now, many of our industrial countries are not only are they not replacing everybody, but they are losing population, and the only way they maintain a population is through immigration. Now, the problem we're having in the world is that, and especially in American industry, which we've had for a long time now, is the fact that it's always cheaper to produce something somewhere else. Now, the whole of southern Asia now is eventually going to reach parity. Now, a lot of Chinese firms export some of their production. They export it to Thailand, Cambodia, Myanmar, Malaysia, Indonesia. They export it to all these countries where it's cheaper. Now these countries are starting to build a middle class, and they are starting to demand more and more wages, like in Bangladesh, India, and so forth. And it'll reach a state where it may not be that cheap anymore to sub out a lot of your work, like it was originally in Japan and then in South Korea and in China and so forth. So when that happens, then the world will be a free trade zone, and a lot of industry, along with robotics and 3D printing and all that, will come back to America, because we'll be more efficient, and we'll have more capital to invest in these technologies. But until then, we have to rely, us in the silver community, on these other middle classes building up, and they're building up like crazy. Even if we have a slight recession or a worldwide recession, we're not going to have less cell phones every year. We're not going to have less computer equipment every year. All this stuff is going to increase. We've got, as I keep saying, 1 billion people in Africa that all of them are going to want cell phones. They're going to be connected by cheap computers. They're going to be educated by cheap computers. And the use of silver is going to increase, while at the same time the demand increases, the production decreases. It's been estimated that last year was probably the highest production of silver that we'll ever see, and it wasn't enough to match demand, and the rest of that demand come from meltdown. So everybody's talking $8, $5 silver. I don't give a fuck. If it went to 2 cents, I'd mortgage a house and buy all silver. Believe me, that I don't know what the bottom is, and all these bullshitters that say $10, $12 is going to be the bottom, they don't know any more than I do or anybody else. It's wherever the manipulators want to try to take it. But they have to remember that at some point, that these contracts have to be met, and at some point they got to be met in silver, because the demand is only increasing. So the fact that Africa is going to turn from 1 billion to 4 billion people by the end of the 21st century, and all those people are going to be using items that all contain silver. Now, everybody can panic, and everybody can sit around these chats, and they can show Perth Mint and Royal Canadian Mint bullshit that they're fucking silver. I don't care what the fuck is on it. I don't care if they make 15,000 of the one and 43 million of the other. That is all. It's all bullshit. What it is it's all silver. Now I buy silver. In mostly sterling and mostly in sets, because the sets have so much more value in them than the silver in them. Now, people that are buying ounces, people that are buying that love, what more product is there out there than American Eagles? 43 million of them last year. There's so much more generic than any other fucking coin or any other thing that's ever been minted, that it doesn't make any sense to collect eagles. Everybody says, "Oh, I gotta have a set of MS-70 Eagles. Well, go the fuck out and buy a set of MS-70 Eagles when you could own so many more ounces of silver. Because in the long run, it's going to be how many ounces of silver you own. Now, I can't tell you when that's going to be. I'm telling you that's where my investment has been, aside from these sterling sets, because the production is going to decrease and the demand's going to increase.